If the decorations haven't already given it away, we're diving into all things autumn in today's video. The twist is we'll be exploring some high-level advanced vocabulary to help you fill in the gaps in your knowledge and speak about autumn in a more natural and confident way. Well, hello there. I'm Claire, and I've got to say that autumn is my favorite season. Today, I'm going to be answering some questions about the season, and as I do, I will be using some advanced vocabulary. This will show you how we use it in context, and I'll add the word here so you can see how it works. To make sure you really get it, I've also made a free PDF with all the language that we will see in this video, and a bonus quiz so you can practice. You can download it now by clicking the link in the description. Just enter your name and email address and you'll be signed up to receive all future PDF lessons, updates, and course information. Also, you can unsubscribe at any time if you wish. All right, let's go. I have my questions here. I'll read out a random question and I'll answer it with a range of high-level vocabulary. You'll be able to listen to the vocab in context and you'll have a better understanding of how it is used. I'm going to start with a very simple question, but even though the question is simple, there's a lot of room to give fuller, more thoughtful answers. You ready? Okay, our first question is, what is autumn? Seems pretty simple. Let's give a really complicated answer. Autumn is the season that is between summer and winter. It is known as autumn in Ireland and the UK and many other countries. However, in North America, it's commonly referred to as fall. So, fall. So if you hear the word fall, it just means autumn. When autumn happens depends on where you are in the world. In the Northern Hemisphere, autumn usually takes place from September to November. In the Southern Hemisphere, it happens from March to May. So for me, it's currently autumn. What about you? Is it autumn where you are? Maybe, maybe not. Let me know in the comments. Autumn begins around the time of the autumnal equinox. The autumnal equinox is the time in autumn when the sun moves across the Earth's equator. On this day, the day and night are almost the same length. It usually happens around the 22nd or 23rd of September in the Northern Hemisphere. In the Southern Hemisphere, the equinox occurs on March 20th or 21st. All right, let's go for another question. I hope that answered the question of what is autumn. Let's go for this one. What is the weather like in autumn? Yeah, that's a good question. Well, let me think. Autumn certainly brings a change from summer. You notice more of a coolness in the air. In fact, some days can be quite chilly. While, many days remain sunny, the weather becomes increasingly changeable. And you might experience blustery days when the wind blows leaves off the trees. It's definitely the time where I start wearing my jacket again. But to be honest, I don't really enjoy being cold, so I never put my jacket away completely. Yeah, I don't like being cold. I don't mind if you're at home and it's raining outside, but yeah, if I can avoid being really, really cold, I will. Okay, our next question. What changes do you usually see in nature during autumn? In nature, autumn is usually the time of year when a lot is taking place with trees. For me, this is what I think of first. For example, most deciduous trees lose their leaves around this time. It's the season when they begin to shed. Honestly, I love seeing all the fallen leaves. The foliage falls to the ground, covering it in bright hues of yellow, orange, and red. When I was younger, I used to love jumping in big piles of them. It was the best part of the season. Other plants, well, they begin to decay, and many flowers start to wither as nature slowly prepares for winter. It really is the season of change, a time when you see a big shift in nature. All right, let's see what else we have. Ooh. Okay. Oh, this is a big one. Have you noticed any changes in animal behavior as autumn approaches? Wow, that is a big question, but I have an answer. It's well known that when autumn comes around, many birds begin their migration to different parts of the globe. When an animal migrates, it travels to a different place, usually because of a change in season. I think more commonly I've heard people say they fly south for the winter. So you might hear that as well. But birds aren't the only ones getting ready. Other animals prepare for the colder months by going into hibernation. Hibernation is a state of deep sleep that some animals enter during winter to save energy. Animals that hibernate include bears, some type of bats, and hedgehogs. Some animals also forage, going from one place to another in search of food. Think of squirrels. They start to collect and hide nuts to make sure they have something to eat when food becomes harder to find in winter. Well, we've already covered a lot of questions and vocab, but we are not done yet. Let's go for another question. What kinds of activities are people involved in during autumn? Oof, okay. There's a lot, but there's one major one I think of. So in autumn, it's a major time for agriculture. It's usually when farmers harvest the grain, fruit, and vegetables that have been growing throughout spring and summer. They cut and collect their crops before winter begins. After months of hard work, autumn is when everything is finally ready to be gathered. In many places, the harvest season is also a time for celebration. People come together and give thanks for their annual yield, sharing food, traditions, and festive activities that mark this important time of year. I love it. There's a lot of fun things happening around this time. Oof, we are almost finished, but I've got a few questions left. Something happens with the clocks around autumn every year. Do you know what it is and why? That sounds so random, this question, but it's not, because there's a very specific thing we're going to talk about. It might impact you in wherever you are in the world, or it might not. It really does depend. So in some parts of the world, we observe daylight saving time. So daylight saving time. This means the clocks change twice a year. This practice usually happens in March and October, depending on the country. It's usually the last week of these months. This is when the clocks change. So in spring, they go forward and we lose an hour. In autumn, they go back, meaning we get an extra hour of daylight. As it happens around 2 a.m., most people say they lose or gain an hour of sleep. That makes a lot of sense because you might wake up and realize you have another hour in bed, or you might wake up and realize that, wow, okay, I really need to get up a little bit earlier than I feel ready for. So you lose or gain an hour's sleep. The main reason for daylight saving time is to make better use of natural daylight during the evenings and to save energy. A helpful way to remember this is the phrase spring forward, fall back. And that's how I remember it. So spring, like to jump, really lively. Forward, so the hour goes forward, or fall back, like back an hour. So that's hopefully helpful if you don't remember which way you should change your clock. People often talk about needing to change the clocks, so you might hear instructions to put the clock forward or put the clock back. Okay, this is our last question. Amazing. What are some things you might see more of around autumn? Okay, so this is going to be my personal opinion. There are lots of options, But I think what makes sense to me is what represents autumn when I see it. So if I'm decorating, you might see a few of these items. You know, for example, there are some vegetables that are both eaten and used for decoration in autumn, like pumpkins. They're everywhere. So pumpkins and gourds. A very vivid symbol of the harvest also would be a cornucopia, which can also be used for celebration. So a cornucopia is a container shaped like an animal's horn, and it's filled with fruit and flowers. Another symbol, I would say, a scarecrow. So a scarecrow has an actual purpose. Its purpose is to scare birds away from crops, but it's become strongly associated with the autumn season. And as I mentioned earlier, many things are being harvested, so you'll definitely see a lot of hay, especially in the form of hay bales, which are gathered and compacted together for storage. When I think of, foliage, I also think of the tools you use to tidy them up, like rakes to gather the leaves and wheelbarrows to move them. Finally, bonfires. Bonfires are quite common around this time of year. These are large outdoor fires, and I mean large, they're really, really, really big. And they bring people together. They're often lit for festive occasions and social gatherings. You have to be very careful around them though. Very, very careful, because they're really big. Well, that's all my questions about autumn. We got through a lot, and I think we packed in a lot of great vocabulary into that one video. Of course, you can go back and check out the video again and look at specific questions for key words that you want to remember. And don't forget to let me know in the comments if it's autumn where you are and where in the world you're watching from. It's definitely my favorite season. How about you? Make sure to download the free PDF that goes along with today's video. It includes all the key vocabulary, space to take notes, and a short quiz to help you review what you've learned. You'll find the link in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.